Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge cycling podcast with Benji Naesen and to the recap of Volta Ciclista at Catalunya Stage 3 2021, as well as 3 Daxa, Brugge de Pan, Coxida, a one-day race that's called... Oh no, it's not called 3 Daxa anymore, Benji. They listen to my complaints. So it's just a one-day World Tour race in the northwest of Belgium. We'll do that second. Before we get to the Catalunya recap, I want to mention our show partner, Lacole. We've got some big things planned for you in conjunction with Lacole for the Spring Classics. I just had a meeting with them before watching Catalunya, arranging some people that have actually won Flanders and Roubaix, Benji, to come on and give their hot takes. So I guess we'll see how hot their takes can be when that comes around. Stay tuned for that and those announcements in the next few weeks. Catalunya Stage 3 from Canal Olympic de Catalunya to Volta 2000. It's like pretty much a crescendo in stage profile form, going from sea level up to 2,000 meters gradually. The final climb is 22.5 Ks, but the first 10 Ks falls flat, getting gradually steeper, then 11.5 Ks at 7.5%. Who do we pick for the stage win yesterday, Benji? Both of us.
You did Adam Yates. You went ahead and chose the more obvious rider that could really do well here, knowing that his team is the strongest and that he's a great rider in 1 week races, and this is a 1 week race, so it applies to that. I went for a bit of an orthodox approach by choosing the rider with the same last name as the final climb, because that is definitely how you decide who will win a stage. And Attila Vallter was my pick.
Yep.
I can tell you already that didn't exactly go as planned, but yeah, I guess you'll find out who took the victory after we do our recap, like always.
So, break went as we thought it would. It got about 10 minutes before there was live coverage. It had Reinhard Jansen van Rensburg, Colin Joyce on rally, Alexander Camp. The strongest rider in there for the final climb was clearly Thymen Arensman on DSM. He was very, very strong in breakaways in the Vuelta last year, the young lad, and I believe fan of the channel, maybe the podcast. So they got like 10 minutes, and it was De Koenig, Jumbo Visma, and Ineos pacing. Luke Rowe, Robert Hessink, Peter Seri, if he's still in the race, I think, for De Koenig Quickstep. And we'll talk about whether that was a good idea later. Not too much happened. They just kept the break in check. 8 minutes, 6 minutes, 4 minutes. Live coverage started. It was about 5.5 minutes with 55 Ks to go. Then they got to about 25 Ks to go, 4-minute gap, and then they just started chewing into it. De Koenig brought it under 4 minutes. Then Ineos, I'm not sure if... Yeah, Luke Rowe was pacing before then. But it was Rowan Dennis, Benji. When did you think... Do you think Dennis is more useful on that false flat section, on a 4%, on like a 6%? Like where's the ideal spot for Dennis?
I think that is indeed the case. I think that we saw in the Stelvio last year his absolute dominance in climbs with a steady gradient. I think that the best gradients are the pretty lower ones, between like 3 to 6%, 7% perhaps max. I think that is a good gradient for Dennis to just rock steady on, to grind his way to the top and just keep mowing that same wattage towards the top of the climb. And I think he can apply this to a section at the start of this Vallter 2000 climb. The rest of it is not necessarily the perfect Dennis territory. I also think that Dennis is not a pure climber, so I don't think people should expect, because he was on the Stelvio last year, one of the better climbers, that he's going to do that on every mountain stage. So it's risky for Ineos to focus on that performance and say, he's going to stay there until half the climb and be able to achieve something by then. So I think that it's ideal to put Dennis in one of your first riders off the train to set a steady tempo. Steady tempos make it so that riders like a Carapaz and so forth don't necessarily spend too much energy in their wheels. And I think that also kind of shows here because, some stuff happened after Dennis went off the front, really.
So just a few minutes after Rowan Dennis was pacing on the front, is Thomas, Port, Carapaz, Adam Yates was somewhere milling in the middle of the pack. He's never at the front of the bunch. Marc Soler was dropped with like 10 kilometers to go before they'd even properly hit the real part of the climb or for very long, where the group was still really big. Very surprised. Alejandro Valverde attacked with about 8.5, 9 kilometers to go very early. We saw it in the Vuelta last year when they tried something like that. Movistar, Zonrig Mas, maybe it was Tour de la Provence too on Ventoux. They even tried something. And I thought it was going to be a bit of a joke
Hmm.
and he'd get brought back really quickly. Kuss and Carapaz marked. When they marked Benji, did you think it was defensive or to gain time? Did you think they were going to pull? Did you think it was a good idea for them to pull?
Mm, I think that Ineos pulling was a good idea. I think that they've got the strongest team here. They can control whenever attacks happen, and they can decide which riders can go or cannot go from that point onwards. I don't think Ineos was thinking too much about the eventual potential stage win. I think they were mainly thinking about setting up a decent pace to keep the tempo high enough so that we don't see random people starting to attack, and also to kind of drop some weight from the group that is there. And that worked. And afterwards, we basically saw what it led to, because the pacing of Ineos controlled the group, and when better climbers, so for example, if the second rider of Ineos is at the front, then we might see an attack of someone else. And when those riders start to attack the outsiders for the stage, for example, a Ciccone, for example, then they are going to play in the card that they've got can either decide to use the train, or they can use one of their riders that is in the train to counter that attack. And I think that played into it perfectly, because Carapaz was one of the first ones to counter people that were starting to attack from the group.
Yeah, I think Carapaz, having lost that time in the TT, he had to be a bit of a defensive option today for Ineos. Sepp Kuss bridging, but then not pulling, didn't really get it. If he was still playing a defensive card for Kreuzfahrt at that point, it makes sense. But his later efforts on the climb don't really suggest that. So Carapaz marking, Kuss marking, Valverde's brought back. More moves go. Chicone trying to get away. Aronsman's just like 40 seconds off the front, floating. And then I think Nairaman, vintage attack, dialed it back to 2015. He attacked early on this climb, 5 to 6Ks to go, and joined up with Valverde, who'd attacked again. So you got the duo, Quintana, Valverde, no Mark Soler there or Lander, unfortunately, to make it the Netflix trio of doom. But they didn't work too well together when they're on Movistar, and it was pretty much just Quintana pacing. Now, he got brought back gradually by Ineos pacing. Well, actually, no, that's not true. It's what Benji said. Carapaz bridged across with Ciccone to mean that Masnada and the other teams had to pace. Masnada was pulling a lot. Eventually, Adam Yates was like, you know what? It's like Jabal Hafid again. It's time to go. Stepped on it, rode away from pretty much everyone except Kuss, who was marking him. Kreuzfahrt was flagging. Carapaz was starting to get dropped off the back of the main GC group. Geraint Thomas had been sitting in the whole time. And I think Benji, I think he saw weakness in Kreuzfahrt back in the group. And that was why he attacked. And he's like, Kuss, what's he got? 48 seconds behind. Perfect for Ineos. And I mean, yeah, you just run it through the next couple of Ks. I got nothing tactical to add.
Yeah, it's a bit of a question that Cuz was asking likely at the start there, because when you're in that situation as a Cuz, you start to think about, either I sit on with Yates, either I wait to help Kreisweg, but if Kreisweg is not doing too well, then is it worth that I wait? Probably not. So I should stick on for the stage win. So I think a lot of decision making was going on in the Jumbo DS car at that moment, and I think Simon Yates didn't really have to think about anything. He just had to ride, because if he loses the stage, he gets 6 bonus seconds.
Adam Yates.
What? Sorry.
Adam
Yates.
Yates.
Wow. Yep.
Simon wasn't looking
Yeah.
good. Simon wasn't looking good back in the bunch. But yeah, sorry, go on.
Adam Yates in that front group, he was not necessarily needing to think too much. He just had to pace because, well, if Cuz is in his wheel, and let's say Cuz is in great form and still wins the stage in the end, then it doesn't really matter for Yates because he can get second. He gets the bonus seconds of second. That's 6 seconds. And because it's too far in GC to really matter for him. So I think that whatever situation that could unfold from this moment was perfect for Ineos. Winning the stage or not winning the stage, it didn't really matter in the end. I think that when it comes to the people in the peloton, they were starting to worry. Almeida, for example, he was in real trouble because he had, well, Mosnada paced a little bit for him. I think Mosnada did quite a bit of work after I was starting to make the remark that he wasn't going to work for Almeida, perhaps. He eventually came to the front after Almeida waved him to the front. So Masnada did a bit of work, and that did something. But in the end, Almeida had to do it himself when it came to the last couple of kilometers. And in that group, you've got Thomas in the wheel of Almeida. You've got Carapaz in the wheel of Almeida. And, well, yeah, they aren't going to ride. So I think everybody in that group
Yeah,
was starting to get in trouble as well. I think Kruiswijk didn't hold on for too much longer in that group as well. That group was starting to thin out.
no.
Valverde, one of the stronger riders of the day with all those attacks, but eventually it didn't really lead to anything for Movistar either. So, meh. I'm not sure this is what they were hoping for as the team, but at least they give a spectacle in the Spanish race. So I think they're going to be happy about that at Movistar either way. And the team classification is looking a bit average after Soler dropped at the start of the climb. But yeah, when it comes to the duo at the front, I think we were both pretty much sure that Adam Yates was taking the stage at that point. I didn't really have the confidence in Gus. And what's your take on that?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. So it was that trio: Adam Yates, Sepp and Valverde. They caught Aronsman. Adam Yates has pretty much been pacing from 5Ks plus to go with just those two sitting on his wheel. Sometimes some surges on the steeper sections. Koos tried to attack him with like 3 kilometers to go, quite far out from the line, which really, really surprised me. We'll get back to that in a second. Valverde was starting to yo-yo at that point. He's never been fantastic over 2,000 meters, but I disagree with Benji. I think today was a great showing from Valverde, and the best he's looked in a long time. I think criticism of Soler and Mas is the big issue for Movistar, but we'll get to them. Aaron's been caught. Yates churning away. Valverde yo-yoing, and then about 2.5 Ks left. Adam Yates, or maybe a little bit less. Yates just decides to ride away from Sepp Kuss, who properly cracks, and Yates just riding his own tempo from 1,500 meters. Benji says he picked Volta, but he said his real pick was Adam Yates being the dominant GC rider, and Yates was riding away with the leader's jersey and probably the stage win. Esteban Chavez, despite being like 30 seconds plus behind Simon Yates after the ITT, was trying to bridge across. Carthy as well had tried to bridge pretty unsuccessfully, but Esteban Chavez actually got pretty close. He made up a good 30 seconds or 25 seconds on Adam Yates. Yates is pretty much, this is what he does. He goes, gets a good gap quickly on these climbs early on the steep section with, say, 5.5 Ks to go. If there's a steep bit there, which there was here, as I said in the preview, he'll get 15 seconds, stop going full, and then ride his pace, which is still like 6.2 watts per kilos plus on this climb, for example. And yeah, he'll eke out that gap every time Kelderman accelerated in the back, Carthy accelerated in the back, and it disrupted the chase. He ekes out another 2-3 seconds and eventually got it out to 30 seconds plus to that group. Really strong performance from Adam Yates. Took the stage win. Looked never in doubt the second he dropped Kuss, despite Chavez coming from the back, but not really getting too close either. Yates first, 10 bonus seconds to 13 seconds ahead of Esteban Chavez. Valverde third on 19 seconds. Geraint Thomas, I think we didn't see it because of the cameras, did his patented surge late after sitting in. Really good result for Geraint Thomas. Like, they got to be very encouraged about that from Ineos. Fourth, leading the second main group on 31 seconds, same time as Van Hoek. Sepp Kuss properly cracked and dropped himself. He went back to Valverde, and then Valverde rode past him after Valverde had been dropped earlier. Kuss 33 back, same time as Carthy. Michael Woods 8th on 36, 9th Port and Ciccone, same time as him. But Benji, Chavez, I saw him pulling out the earpiece. Do you think it's the right move for him to try and bridge across?
It's a difficult one. We know that Simon Yates wasn't doing too well in the second group, so they have to cut their losses on that one at some point. The issues here is that I think that I expected Chavez to do more for Simon Yates in the earlier aspect, but perhaps Simon Yates had already said, yeah, this ain't going to happen. If you help me out right now, you're dropping me. So it's a bit difficult to look at that. I think, first of all, it's amazing to see where Chavez is in this ranking. I hope it sticks because last year at the Volta, it didn't. And he had this for 1 or 2 days and then it completely bottled it afterwards. So I hope he can keep this up. I hope he can stay at this level because it would be an asset to the team, unlike what we expected from him, to say the least. The thing about Chavez is that in this situation, you've got now a race where on GC after this stage, they are both on that 1 minute 21. Simon Yates and Esteban Chavez. What now? I wouldn't know who to go for with the inconsistency of Chavez versus basically also the inconsistency of Simon Yates. I can't tell you who to go for tomorrow.
Yeah. Chavez not pacing now means they're even further away on GC than they would have been if he'd paced on the front for Simon Yates. So, bearing in mind that I think Yates can blow Simon, that is hot and cold, and tomorrow, who knows how Chavez will back up tomorrow. And the GC now, I'll read that out to you. Adam Yates first, Richie Port second on 45 seconds. Wait, is that right? That's the beauty of the TT, Benji.
Yes.
The TT, we see people dropping. That's the thing. It's a psychological, not delusion, but the TT, you see a guy, they all come in, they're all looking like they're going fast, but 30 seconds is so much in a 1 week race. And to make that up, you need to absolutely destroy people on a climb. And Adam Yates did a climbing record today up to Vallter, and still Port, after having a bad day, lost not that much time. He's still in second, moving up spots on 45 seconds. Almeida's still in third on 50 seconds off Adam Yates. I mean, not great, not ideal, but he's still like a full 30 seconds ahead of Simon Yates and Esteban Chavez, and nearly that ahead of Hugh Carthy. So the TT is just so important, and that's why I think if you don't have the TT, then I think you need to conserve multiple riders, or just, I don't know, keep it close as much as possible. 10-15 seconds here matter, and Simon Yates didn't get that with Chavez not pulling. Benji, Marc Soler, was it by choice or bad legs that he got dropped at the start of the climb?
The thing is, I think that when it comes to Marc Soler, it's difficult to answer the question because he's so inconsistent that we don't know. And that is the problem. I think it must have been by choice. It just feels so weird that at the bottom of the climb he draws because, not even a few kilometers in my opinion. I think
Yeah, I know.
it was before the pace was serious, and that's where the issue lies.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It can't be that he dropped there after a flat stage, basically. So I don't believe it. I think he's saving energy for tomorrow. I think they're gonna orchestrate the Movistar team classification takeover, but it's gonna be tough with Ineos being on top of it with 3 riders in the top 4 of GC. So that's gonna be tough.
No, not about helping teammates, Benji. He wants to get in the break tomorrow to go for the stage win. And
To go for
then,
the team classification.
whatever version of David Gadu is here will beat him on the final climb anyway. But no, I had one more point to make. I had a rant that I was bottling up and I nearly forgot because my headphones stopped working. Pacing, just because you have the leader's jersey, doesn't make sense. This stage is designed for Adam Yates and Ineos. Just because Almeida had the leader's jersey didn't mean he was more able to win this stage. He was ahead of McNulty by like a fraction of a second. So what? By pacing, and no one accuse me of 2020 hindsight because I tweeted it at the second I saw Jumbo Visma contributing to the pacing. Why pace when your two riders, Almeida, who I love by the way, love Almeida, but he's never won a pro race, and mountaintop finish to altitude with Adam Yates here. He's losing time. Okay, it's whether it's 10 seconds or 25 seconds, it doesn't matter. He's losing time, and same with Kreuzweig, and Koos. I don't know why Jumbo Visma contributing to the chase. I was like, you're just bringing back the break so Adam Yates can get 10 extra bonus seconds. It makes no sense because it makes a difference, Benji, because you've got Rowan Dennis in the last section fresh. If the Koenig and Jumbo Visma hadn't paced the break at all, Benji, do you think Ineos pace? Do you think they call their bluff? Do you think they use Dennis? What do you think happens?
I think they do the exact same thing they did today because they wouldn't really care about the stage. They just do it for the place they can get into and the time they can gain on the others on the final climb then. Because for Ineos, it doesn't matter if the stage is for the taking or not. It's better because they get bonus seconds, but next to that, I think the same plan would have worked if the break was still ahead. And perhaps the others wouldn't have been so offensive against Ineos if that was the case. Questions like, would Valverde have attacked this much, for example, if a breakaway was still ahead with like 5-6 minutes? I'm not sure. Would Ciccone have cared this much if the break was still 5-6 minutes ahead? Those are the questions, and I don't think Ciccone would have cared as much. I think he would have tried, but not as much as he did today, and I think that counts for a few riders. So it would have made the last climb differently, but I don't think Ineos would have made it any difference to their strategy.
Don't really understand it. I think you've basically allowed Ineos to have a
Yep.
a couple of hours off, or they just chuck Rowe up there. They don't need to use more riders, and Ineos are short of domestiques. Instead of having to use Thomas on that falls flat section, they get to use Dennis. Castroviejo's not looked as good as he has, so yeah, I think Jumbo Visma and De Koenig played right into Ineos' hands there and made it harder for themselves in the next stages. The next stage being a nastier one tomorrow from Ripoll to Portenay, 169 kilometers with one Cat 1, I think it's 3.7 Ks at 9.1%, but the actual climb at the start is longer. It's a bit mean to say it's only 3.7 Ks. Then they go just south of Andorra to La Seu d'Urgell and do the Port del Canto, 25 Ks at 4.5%. Staircase climb, though. Not going to say it's fake news, but it's staircasey. Then the Port NA climb up to 1,967 meters, 18.5 Ks at 6.7%. If Ineos just feel like controlling tomorrow, then that's what they'll be able to do on that last climb. I think if you want to try something, I don't know, it's going to be hard, Benji. What do you do if you're Jumbo Visma, for example?
I don't know. I think attacking is the only option with a deficit like that, and I think that counts for every competitor right now. When I look at the top 10 in GC, we have, Ineos on 1, 2, and 4. Almeida is still in the top 3. I think Almeida's going to have to play defensively or he'll get overthrown and get counted on the last climb. So we can't do too much against that. Kelderman, Valverde, Garfi, Yates, Chavez, and Van Hoeke. Bike Exchange need to do something with one of their riders early because that's the only way they can try and set something up. And they have two options. The other ones are basically an all or nothing attack if they do anything early. And yeah, they're pretty far in GC now. They're like a minute and more down. So I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be really tough to push Adam Yates off his throne here. I don't know how they could do it. And
Me either.
yeah, like for example, Enric Mas. Where did he finish, Enric Mas? Because I swear I didn't see him in the top 10.
No, I don't know where he is. Valverde is the best Movistar rider on sixth, a minute and four back, and he
Did you
looks
see that
really
coming?
good today. Valverde could have been closer on GC if he didn't attack so early. So, yeah, like was clearly the strongest Movistar rider. And if they'd used Soler on stage one to get him some bonus seconds, he'd be even closer. But yeah, tomorrow it's got to be a break, Benji. Like, why would Ineos care about a
Yep.
break at all on that? They don't need any more time. Almeida, like, it's done. He's not. He's just gonna be worried about third right now. So, yeah, explain to me how a break doesn't win.
So it depends on who's in it. You start off with a climb in this stage, which is always great for large breakaways because this will basically be Ineos moving to the front of the peloton ASAP at the start of the stage and them setting a tempo so they can check who is attacking from the group, call it in or know from beforehand this rider cannot go, and then respond whether necessary on the people that can't attack and don't respond to the people that can get away. And I think that's going to be the game that this stage is going to play out on the first climb. Just people allowing to go by Ineos or not being allowed to go. And I think the ones not being allowed to go will be the GC driven people, or perhaps a great satellite rider for someone. I don't think they really need to care too much about satellite riders on this stage too much. I think that Ineos is strong enough to counter any attack that comes after the satellite rider gets away. So if someone would try and attack towards a satellite rider that is ahead of the peloton in the breakaway for them, then I'm pretty sure Ineos would be able to counter that on both the other two climbs. So I think indeed a large breakaway is a take at the start of the stage here. Ineos will not be the people that will be pacing down that breakaway. The only team that could pace down a breakaway, if they're not in it, is Movistar, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be in it. They have to be. If they're not, then I don't know why Soler dropped so early. I don't know what they're doing as a team. I don't know what they're planning because I don't think what is it, sixth position in GC now with Valverde is really what they're aiming for here. I think they would have hoped for a tiny bit more. So I think those are the two teams that could pace in the peloton. Movistar wouldn't be very intelligent, but that would be in their nature. And I don't think that Jumbo or the Koenig should care at all for pacing. I think that Jumbo should try and set something up because if they wait to the last climb, they're also not going to make it. But I'm not sure if they are going to make it if they attack early either. So I don't really know how to beat Ineos here. They're on 1, 2, and 4 in GC. Like, let's be honest, they're winning this.
Yeah, break options. Hey, no, it's the wrong Harada. Ilnur Zakarin, Walt Poles, Pernsteiner, Badilati, Reichenbach, Channel Kanga, maybe if he gets
Masnada? Is he far enough?
doubt it. I think De Koenig will keep him to help Almeida. They won't send him, I don't think. Samitier for Movistar, Kenny Lassonde has to be a big shout. I'd love to see Astana Premier Tech get Harold Tejada in there, Benji. I don't know where he's been, but yeah, Harold Tejada should really be in the break tomorrow. Thomas de Gent and Han van Hocker, he is strong enough to be winning easily from the break, but
Yep.
he's too close on GC now. So he's at a minute 30, but that's the thing. If he was in the break, he's winning, but he's too close, so he can't get in the break. But can't wait. Tomorrow might not be as exciting as today's Catalunya Stage 3. But that was our Catalunya Stage 3 recap. Adam Yates on top, Ineos in the driver's seat, 1, 2, and 4. Not sure where else it can go from here.